Hey, what's up guys? Rob here, and I'm back with another movie review. Continuing on with my Halloween series reviews. I've already reviewed Halloween 1, Halloween 2, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and Halloween 4 The Return of Michael Myers. Now, we are going to talk about the 1989 American slasher Halloween 5 The Revenge of Michael Myers. I've always loved the cover to this movie, and that's about it. No, you know what? I don't really like this film. I don't hate it, okay? When it comes to the Halloween films, you know, the Rob Zombie ones I hate. I hate those films with a passion, and we'll get to that when I review them. But I'm just kind of disappointed with this movie. I thought it was kind of boring in parts. There are some things I like, and I will get to that. But I do think this is a badass cover. I love the cover. Michael lives, and this time they're ready. Oh, really? He lives? Oh my god, who would have thought? But yeah, 1989. It was directed and co-written by Dominic Gerard. Stars Donald Pleasence, who once again portrays Dr. Sam Loomis. Danielle Harris, who reprises her role as Jamie Lloyd. The film takes place exactly 1 year after the events of Halloween 4. Michael Myers has returned to the sleepy town of Haddonfield, Illinois to murder his niece, Jamie, who is now a mute. Dr. Loomis tries to save the day with the help of Sheriff Meeker. And it's funny, the film's on-screen titles do not display the Revenge of Michael Myers subtitle, which it says right there. But the subtitle was used in all the promotional material, you know, like the TV spots, trailers, merchandising. But it just simply says Halloween 5, which I thought was kind of interesting in a way. But, you know, based on characters by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. Music, Alan Howarth did the music to this. I am a fan of his music. Budget is like $5-6 million, and it made like 11.5, roughly $11.5 million at the box office. You have Wendy Kaplan as Tina Williams, who is the friend of Rachel. You have Ellie Cornell returning as Rachel. Not for very long, but she does return. Beau Starr as Sheriff Meeker. Jeffrey Landman as Billy. Tamara Glynn as Samantha. Jonathan Chapman as Michael, or Mikey, so to say. Matthew Walker as Spitz. And you got Don Shanks, who plays Michael Myers and the Man in Black. And that's one thing I didn't like either. I did not like the whole Man in Black scenario. I hated it. I didn't think they needed to do that. I mean, it's understandable that Michael's evil. Okay, we all know that. He's evil, okay? But we don't need this Man in Black to be like the leader of some kind of cult. Where, you know, Michael Myers has this mark on his hand, and like it just I don't know. It's kind of stupid. To me, at least. So the first draft of the script was written by Shem Bitterman. And Bitterman's idea was that Jamie Lloyd would become evil after stabbing her stepmother. And also while Myers was after her. And the idea was rejected by the studio and Mustafa Akkad. And they brought Michael Jacobs to write the script. But after reviewing the script, the director, Dominic Gerard, added some, he added some new aspects. Like, Jamie's inability to speak and her visions and stuff like that. But Donald Pleasence also had disagreements. There were a lot of disagreements when it came to the behind the scenes of this film. Donald Pleasence had disagreements with Akkad and the director, citing that Jamie should have been portrayed as an all-evil after stabbing her stepmother. And Akkad disagreed. He thought that fans wanted to see more of Michael Myers. In an interview, Danielle Harris explains that she thought the idea would be fun. And this is her direct quote. "The way Halloween 4 ended, I thought I was going to be the killer. I thought it would have been fun to come back as the killer, or Michael's sidekick. Scary but fun." End quote. I'm kind of glad they didn't do that. Which is why at the end of Halloween 4, it's kind of pointless now that they didn't go through with that, because it would have made more sense. But now, I mean, I understand. In this movie, she's a mute. She's been through a traumatic experience, and that's the result. That's the result of her experiences. That now she's a mute. She's having visions and all that stuff, which she had visions before, but now it's like stepped up a notch. But she's been through a lot with Michael, and I think it would have been stupid to have like a sidekick. I think that's really dumb. I mean, I do agree with Akkad that people do want to see Myers. I mean, hell, they brought him back for Halloween 4. So what does that tell you? You know, people wanted to see Myers when Halloween 3 was a big disappointment to a lot of people because he wasn't in it. And so they brought him back for Halloween 4. So, you know, they need him to come back if they want to keep making movies, obviously. The hermit who was shown in the beginning of the film, you know, living in the shack outside of the river with his parrot, it was originally supposed to be a young man who tried to bring Michael Myers back to life after finding him. And his shack was supposed to be filled with ancient relics and tablets and items of resurrection. He was supposed to resurrect Michael. That scene was actually filmed, but it was reshot with an older man instead of a younger man. I think that whole thing was stupid anyway. I mean, I would have rather had that whole shot cut out where he was being taken care of for a year. He was being taken care of by this hermit. And his mask is hanging up in the corner. And it's not even the same mask. That is not the same mask as Halloween 4. It is nowhere close. The hair's different, the mouth, everything about the mask is different, okay? It is nothing like the Halloween 4 mask, so it makes no sense. That hermit would not have another a Michael Myers mask just sitting there. And plus, Michael Myers was wearing the mask in Halloween 4. When he got shot and he fell down that shaft, he was still wearing the mask. And at the beginning of this film, it shows right when he gets shot, he falls down that shaft and he's sitting there. It's almost like an action movie. There's Myers going down the hill and there's water and he's sitting there. He still has the mask, but it's this mask. They changed it like all of a sudden. So that doesn't make sense. And I just thought it was really dumb that this hermit was taking care of him for... Whatever. It is what it is. Ellie Cornell, who returns as Rachel. Now, I liked her in Halloween 4. She was actually keen on returning as Rachel because she was disappointed to learn that her character would be killed off early in the film. And she is. She's killed basically with a pair of scissors. You know, Michael stabs her in the chest when originally Michael was supposed to shove the pair of scissors down her throat, but she thought that that would be too gruesome, so she requested that the writers change it. I don't think it would have been that much more gruesome. I mean, what's the difference? Shove the scissors down her throat or shove them in her chest. Either way you see blood, it just... whatever. Seems like there were a lot of changes, and there were a lot of disagreements in this film. Seemed like behind the scenes. So you have George P. Wilbur, who portrayed Michael Myers in the previous film. He didn't express any interest in returning to play the role, although he did work as a stunt player on the film. But we have Don Shanks. He was cast to play Myers. He played a similar character in the first two Silent Night, Deadly Night films. And like I said, he also played the Man in Black, which I hated. I hated that character. But George Wilbur, he had to wear hockey pads to appear as having a bigger build. And, you know, he would play in the next movie as Michael in The Curse of Michael Myers. And it's funny because they expressed that Don Shanks didn't need to wear any hockey pads or anything because he already had a large build. I mean, he was pretty, you know, he was pretty beefed up, man. I will give Don Shanks credit. I think his portrayal as Michael was great. I think the portrayal of Michael Myers was great in this. That being said, I don't like the mask, and I don't like just the role of some of the other characters and how the story revolves. Now, you know, one of the coolest things, I think, is the confrontation between Donald Pleasence and Myers, where he starts beating him with wood. I mean, and Danielle Harris is crawling through the vents and all that stuff, and Myers is trying to get her. That is the best part of the movie. In my opinion, that is the best part. Otherwise, everything else is a slow burn, boring time, in my opinion. I didn't care for some of the characters. I didn't care for the whole barn scene. I don't know. But Don Shanks did a good job. I will give it that. That dude, what's his name? Matthew Walker. He appeared in Child's Play 3, 1991, which is another favorite of mine, Child's Play 3. Mustafa Akkad, you know, he wanted things a certain way. And whether it was Donald Pleasence who disagreed with him, you know, he even disagreed with Deborah Hill on a lot of things. You know, Deborah Hill wanted to bring the franchise closer to the original and wanted more blood in the film. The original uncut version of the film featured more blood and violence, and Akkad did not like that. He felt that the original and Halloween 4 the Halloween 4 movie worked better without showing as much detail. And I don't know, you could argue, that's one of the things I liked about Curse of Michael Myers, Part 6, even though it's kind of a bad film. I did like how there was a lot more blood and gore. I think in some instances it works, but I do agree with Akkad, too, that you don't really, you know, the original Halloween was so successful, they didn't rely on over-the-top gore and blood. So it's hard, you know, it's hard to argue with either of them. I guess it just depends on what you're doing. Danielle Harris and Don Shanks, who played Myers, became good friends over the course of filming. They spent a lot of time together, on and off set. Don Shanks was injured when they were filming the scene where Michael crashes Mike's Camaro into the tree. I guess the director had forgotten to yell cut, and fire began emerging from the car. I think Wendy Kaplan was also injured. I don't think it was bad though. But Donald Pleasence accidentally broke Don Shanks' nose on the set where they were filming, where Loomis beats him with the block of wood, which is one of my favorite scenes. He broke his nose. Donald Pleasence, you don't mess with Donald Pleasence. Don Shanks is huge. He's a big guy, and Donald Pleasence broke his nose. Oh man, that's crazy. This film was fighting an X rating due to its violence, blood, and gore. Some scenes were trimmed down to keep it R-rated. The scene where Jamie climbs up the laundry chute was originally more graphic, as she was to be stabbed in the leg, but due to the request of the MPAA, the scene was cut down. There was an alternate opening. Alternate opening was filmed with the hermit replaced by a younger man, of course, like I said. There were a lot of things trimmed down. There were a lot of things cut. There were a lot of things that kind of went wrong with the movie. And with all the accidents that happened in this film, you don't really find that with some of the other ones. There was just a lot of the stunt work. It just seemed like the director was not paying attention half of the time. But yeah, there were just a lot of disagreements and a lot of things that just didn't go well. But like I said, the whole beginning, the hermit takes care of Michael. Then he awakens and kills the hermit. Returns to Haddonfield. Jamie's been committed to a children's hospital, and she's a mute. Due to the trauma, she suffers from nightmares, seizures, after she attacked her foster mother. And they say it's under Michael's influence, and it's like he influenced her. It's just, I don't like that. I just don't, like, come on. She has, like, signs of, well, it's like a telepathic link between her and Michael. And, Dr. Loomis becomes aware of that link between her and Michael. Tries to convince Sheriff Meeker once again that Michael is still alive. Same old story. So, basically, Michael goes around trying to find Jamie, kills off Rachel, stabbing her in the chest, like I said. Begins stalking Tina, who kind of slides in there as the main chick, now that Rachel's gone. But then there's the whole Halloween party at the farm thing. And there's these cops, and that whole thing was just dumb. I didn't care for that at all. This couple has sex in the barn, and it just reminded me of Friday the 13th. A lot of that. My favorite part, like I said, is when they're in that house and Jamie's hiding in the laundry chutes, and Michael's trying to find her, and he stabs through the chutes, and she goes upstairs into the attic, and Michael's trying to find her through this house. Loomis appears. He uses Jamie as bait, lures Michael into a trap to weaken him with a tranquilizer gun, and then he beats Michael with the plank until he's unconscious. That's my favorite. I mean, Loomis, he suffers a stroke and collapses. And then Michael gets locked up at the sheriff's station and will eventually be escorted to the prison. And Sheriff Meeker says he will remain there until he dies. And then Jamie responds, he'll never die. And then she's escorted out to be taken home, and then all of a sudden the man in black shows up. He arrives and attacks the police station, basically killing all the officers and Sheriff Meeker. So, wow. This man in black, you don't mess with him. Screw Michael. What about the man in black? He's tougher. We should be more worried about him. So Jamie walks to the police station and finds everyone dead, and discovers that Michael's cell is empty, and then she starts crying. I do like the music when they show that the cell's empty and stuff, but I'm sorry. I don't like the whole cult thing. It's so far-fetched. I just wish they would just stick with the fact that Michael is the way he is because he chooses to be, or like he's just evil because he is. That's it. There's no cult. There's no driving force driving him like that. If I had to rate this movie, I would give it probably a 7 out of 10. So, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.